Bills have 4 avenues to potentially clinch a playoff berth in the AFC. They just beat the Dolphins and they're in and they win the division. They could also get in if the Steelers lose to the Ravens. And by the way, no Lamar Jackson this weekend. He's been shut down for the season. Jags, if they were toppled by the Titans, Bills would get in. The last scenario, a bit more far-fetched. The Texans and Colts would have to tie in Week 18. Here he is. It's Happy New Year to Luke Willson, star of Luke Who's Talking. And since New Year's Eve, Luke has been taking a little bit of heat from the Bills Mafia for suggesting that Buffalo might not prevail in the Sunday nighter against Miami. Luke, any chance you've changed your mind over the last couple of days?
There's minimal chance. Again, I think it'll be a good game here, Jay. But the idea that the Bills Mafia, thinks that they're just going to roll into Miami and get a dub because they've won a few games in a row is absurd to me. And let's look at how the Bills have played, particularly in the last 2 weeks. They struggled to beat Bailey Zappi, and they struggled to beat Easton Stick. I'm sorry, Jay, if my confidence in the Buffalo Bills isn't at an all-time high right now. And if we want to go back a week before that, they beat the heck out of the Cowboys in a crazy rain game where their quarterback, who is by far their best player, completed 7 passes. So do I think the Bills have talent? Of course. Do I think Josh Allen's one of the most talented guys in the NFL? Of course. Do I think it's just going to be, we've won 4 games in a row, so we're going to go win the division in Miami on the road against Tua, against this team that, they looked very bad last week against the Ravens. They're not the first team that's done that. And if we want to go back 2 weeks ago, they beat the Cowboys. So I'm a little nervous for the Bills. Sue me. Be upset. I don't think that they should be favored in this game. Obviously, Vegas does, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, okay, so let's assume that you're right and they don't get the victory. Well, then all it would take is for the Steelers and Jags to win and the Colts and Texans to not tie, and the Bills would miss the playoffs altogether. So do the Bills miss the playoffs altogether, Luke?
To be honest with you, I don't think so. I know, again, you hear those things play out. I don't think the Steelers are safe. I understand Lamar Jackson's not playing. But, Jay, you got to think in this league, there's a bunch of guys that are waiting to get their shot, and it has finally come if you're in the Baltimore Ravens in Week 18. I think the Steelers are going to have a very, very hard-nosed, hard-fought game, even though it's against some of the second stringers of Baltimore. And here's the next thing. Yes, Lamar's not playing, and that's a huge ordeal. But you only have 53 guys on a roster. You take out the special teams players. You don't even have full backups for every position in the NFL. So it's not like you're going to send a bunch of nobodies onto the field. They got to beat the Baltimore Ravens, and there's a lot of guys on that team that have a lot of talent. So I think the Steelers could win, but it's going to be a very, very tough matchup. Next thing I'll say is I do get worried about the Jags. Yes, they're playing Tennessee, but Tennessee, a couple weeks ago, played the Seattle Seahawks very, very tough, and the Jags have really struggled as of lately. So the Jaguars are another one that I don't think is a lock. If those two things happen, there's a chance that if Buffalo doesn't get the job done, which as we just spoke about, I do not think they will. I think it'll be a tight game, but I got a feeling Tua might have the last laugh. I think the Bills are on the verge and potentially of missing the playoffs. But my gut feeling here, just gut instinct says that somebody else will trip up and Buffalo will make their way in as a wild card.
And it's always more fun when the Bills are in the postseason. Let's be honest. I feel like I want to talk a little bit more about the Ravens, Luke. We didn't really get a chance to talk about them Sunday after they put up 56 on the Fins. They're the second favorite to win the Super Bowl, according to our friends at FanDuel. The Niners are the first. Does Vegas have this right? Should Ravens be second and Niners be first?
It's a bit surprising just because of the beatdown that the Ravens just gave the Niners. But that being said, and I'm going to use this against Bills Mafia fans that are still mad at me, it's hard to beat a team twice in this league. And just an FYI, Bills fans, you beat Miami earlier in the year. I don't want to keep harping on it. But back to your question here, Jay. I do see, where Vegas is coming from with this thing. I think the Niners are very, very balanced. I think the game that they played against the Ravens was not a fluke. The Ravens came out, threw a bunch of haymakers at them and really were able to kind of dominate. But there's a lot of bad things that were correctable. The 4 interceptions by Purdy, the one by Sam Darnold. I don't think that will happen if they play again, and that's probably why the Niners are a little bit of an edge. And then I also think that the NFC is generally weaker than the AFC right now. Specifically, I don't want to say it, but Joe Flacco and the Browns, I know it sounds wild. Not the team you want to see, that big storyline. Joe Flacco maybe in the second round playing Baltimore. I think that'll be a tough matchup for anyone. So I think partially that's why the odds are leaning that way as well.
Let's talk about the Detroit Lions, another one of your former teams, near and dear to your heart. Tough loss on Saturday night. Dan Campbell was distraught when it was all over. But let's see how Coach Campbell was feeling on Wednesday.
I've got controlled fury, and I'm ready to go. I'm absolutely ready to go. I don't go the other way. So, and the team won't either. We're on a mission, and we're not going to feel sorry for ourselves and wallow in everything. We had plays to make, we didn't make them, and it's a tight game, a good opponent, playoff type atmosphere, and you got to make that one extra play that we didn't. And so we will use this as fuel. I got pure octane right now. I woke up, I'm ready. So we're moving forward.
One of the most fascinating guys in all of football, just pure octane in his veins, just like Luke here. So, Luke, how do you think the Lions bounce back from that loss as they head into the postseason?
I think they have a great week. They're playing Minnesota. I think Minnesota is really in a tough situation with regards to their quarterback position. Pretty much eliminated themselves last week. I mean, they need a wild amount of things to happen for them to get in, I believe. So you're looking at a Minnesota team pretty devastated, pretty beat up, and you're looking at a Detroit Lions team that is going to be very angry. And I understand why. As much as I love to poke fun at the Lions, and I've watched them since I was a kid, played for them for 1 year, I don't know if there is a stranger yet worse way to lose a football game than the ref accidentally declaring the wrong person eligible. I've never seen it. I don't think we'll ever see it again.
Oh, no.
So I do feel for the Lions. I mean, it's crazy, Jay. But I do think that they'll get back on track. And to be honest, the NFL's got to love it because right now it looks like Matthew Stafford is coming to town, and that'll be a very, very cool storyline in round one.
I know you've been looking forward to that potential story for a long time. I'm looking forward to Sunday night, Bills and Dolphins. Luke, we'll talk to you then.